Well, hello, everyone. This is part one of 3 episodes from the Conservative Political Action Conference, better known as CPAC. And we got a lot of interviews to get to in the next 3 days. So without further ado, let's get this started. Welcome once again to another episode of TrendChat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe, and if you want to connect with us, whether on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it's all the same name, TrendChat 24/7. And if you want to, read some of my articles from Politichicks, let's go to politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. And don't forget about the book, Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, which contains over 300 pages from contributors like myself talking about education, healthcare, general political issues, etc. And as I mentioned numerous times, I not only want you to get 1 copy, get 5 copies. Just, pass them around to people on the street. We'll appreciate it. And like I said, it has my article about becoming a national delegate at the Republican National Convention in 2016, amongst others. Like I said, it's 300 pages, so I have my contribution, but there are plenty of contributions and from other contributors. So go out and pick that up today. So now, like I said, we don't have a lot of time for me to talk about everything that happened at the Conservative Political Action Conference, which I will refer as CPAC from now on. I just want to tell you exactly what CPAC means. But this is my 3rd time attending, 2nd time participating as media, the quote unquote media. And the first time was I was just a regular attendee, which is another article I wrote for Politichicks. Actually, that was my first article, was about attending CPAC 2016, to be at CPAC for the first time. And so you can check that out at politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. But I had a good time. Unfortunately, I did not see a lot of the conference because I was mostly outside conducting interviews or waiting to do an interview with someone or waiting to ask someone to do an interview. So if you saw any of the posts that especially on Facebook, I will share the live stream of the conference. So if you're watching that, you probably saw more than I did. I was in there for President Trump's speech, and pretty much everything, the last couple of sessions on Saturday at the end. I was there for the straw poll results and there was a couple of panels and there as well. So, but most of it I was out, and which if I do go back next year, I think I might change that to where I might have longer interviews, but fewer interviews, and maybe try to be inside more. And I don't know, like that's a year from now, and I'm still debating. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go next year or not. But like I said, that's a long ways from now. But I'm already still thinking about how would I do the interviews better? Because when you listen to these interviews, for one, I know last year when I did it for the first time, everything was very general because I had like a list of questions that I was going to ask everybody the same question. This year I wanted to specify the questions towards the person I was talking to instead of just asking general CPAC questions. I think I did better on that this year, and next year, on top of just conducting interviews with people that you're going to hear in the next 3 days, I also was going around seeing other people at these other media outlets that were interviewing others. And, because for me, all this is new for me. I'm just going on my own and kind of learning on my own on everything. So I'm just kind of seeing how people are doing their interviews, because the people I'm talking to were doing interviews themselves with, with higher, bigger names than I could ever try to get on the podcast, at least right now. But I would ask them after our interview, what do you think? And, so I just asked them what their thoughts of me, of me asking the questions of them. So anyway, like I said, we don't really have much time to talk. So let me go ahead and get to our first interview. Our first interview is with Nate Madden with CRTV. We talked to a number of people at CRTV, and I think it's a great channel. It's you can learn more about it on it's basically conservative reviewed television, and it's available online, and you can get a subscription. But let me not say too much more, because the people I'm going to talk about are going to talk a lot more about CRTV, a lot more eloquently. There you go. To get it right, Brian. Than I am. Obviously, you just heard that. So anyway, let's get to the interview with Nate. Hello, this is TrendChat, and we are pleased to have Nate Madden with us with CRTV. He does a great show called the Capitol Hill Brief, and just want to talk to him a little bit more about the show. So how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
So tell us everything about the Capitol Hill Brief, and just a little overview, I guess.
So the Capitol Hill Brief, we take Capitol Hill news and we just break it down. We go through all the really wonky, swampy policy and legislative language to get down to the meat of what is going on Capitol Hill and how it affects real folks living out in the real world outside of this fantasy land they call Washington, D.C. And that's the long and the short of it. We talk to members of Congress, we break down bills, we talk about whatever's trending in any given week, and we put it up on CRTV and hope y'all enjoy it. Well,
first thing I'm thinking about is the whole budget deal. So I guess give us some reporting on that. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's like, what do you, I mean, good grief. I mean, that was that. So I've got, if you really want to get the skinny on what exactly went down with that entire budget deal, you can go on the website and check out the interview that I did with Congressman Thomas Massey, and he lays out just the storyline there. You had a situation where the House, they passed defense funding, and they had a responsible domestic funding going on. And then you turn around to the Senate, and they did the same thing they do every single time. They bake this cake behind closed doors, they bring it out, and they tell everybody they got to eat it. It's like, okay, so we've got to blow out the debt ceiling for a year. We've got to suspend this. Blow out the spending caps. Add 13% to the federal government spending. Just to make sure that we're not shorting the troops. And of course, leadership comes out as they do, and they say, oh well, if you're not in favor of blowing out the debt and spending a bunch of other people's money, then you're not really supporting the military. You're cutting our national defense short. And if you go to the interview that I did with Thomas Massey, he just basically looks me straight in the face and says poppycock in a very Thomas Massey way.
It's funny because I mentioned before when I talked to someone else about this, is where kind of like what you mentioned as far as baking the cake, and where you have all these different little bills put into one huge bill to basically make a representative think that, or a congressman or whatever, have to basically choose between maybe a lot of good things and a whole lot of bad things as well.
That's a kind way of putting it. I mean, really what the strategy is when leadership does this sort of stuff is they take all these different little things, and they have some pot sweeteners in there to get this caucus and that caucus on board. But what they do is they roll out a one-size-fits-all thing. They close the process, so you can't add amendments. You can't bring in this thing or you take this out. No. This is the one thing that we're going to put on the floor, and I dare you not to vote for it. That is what we see time and time again. It's what we saw repeatedly with healthcare. It's really more or less what we ended up seeing with that freewheeling debate in the Senate on immigration. No, they came out with 4 bills. We're going to vote on these. They all failed. But it's the same thing over and over again. You've got Ryan, who's trying to keep everything together in the House and who uses this process, and then you've got Mitch McConnell, who just will not release any of his control over the process in the Senate. I mean, he's notorious among staffers and media as just a tremendous control freak when it comes to actually passing bills. And half his strategy is just lead them straight into a box canyon and see if they can fight their way out of it.
It makes me think about I guess one in particular is Senator Cruz, where because he voted for it, he got a whole lot of flack as far as for voting for the bill, but it kind of goes back in what I was saying about the good things and bad things in the bill and kind of getting killed over it.
Oh, of course, you can look at that. I mean, the main reason that Cruz really couldn't move on that thing, if you look at it from an outside perspective, they also tacked on hurricane funding to it. And it's one of those situations where they say, all right, this is how, not just how you get national defense, this is how you get your hurricane funding. And they say that to Cruz and to Cornyn, they say that to Texas delegation in the House, and to the Florida delegation. This is how you get money for everything that needs to go on for the rebuilding effort. And we dare you not to pass it. And they know that he can't vote against that. They know that the folks who live in these hurricane-ravaged areas, they can't vote against disaster spending because it'll kill them politically, and it also, it leads to extra suffering back home, just in general. But they would never consider that separately because they need that in order to get their massive budget bloat through.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about as far as having these bills separated, have you had a time where we have issues like a single bill on one thing, or is it always kind of like these convoluted bills?
I honestly cannot remember. I'm new to the politics game. I'm under 30, but I've never seen a real open process in either house, in either chamber on any sort of thing. This is just not how things are done anymore. Anytime there's something massive that needs to be done, there are some little bills on the side that they get passed discreetly. No one ever talks about them. That do these little things to federal policy, right? But when it comes to the big stuff, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to spending, when it comes to the military, when it comes to immigration, it's always the same process over and over. We're going to put this all together. You can't change it, and I dare you not to vote for it. Period. And and half the reason for that is, yes, you have control freaks in leadership who don't want this thing getting out of their hands. They want to be able to control it. On the other hand, you've got to look at how much these guys are actually showing up to the office, and it's not because they're all just it's not because some of them aren't lazy. Some of them really put in the work. But when you've got Mitch McConnell scheduling Senate sessions on an average of I think the current statistic is somewhere between 2.7 and 3 days a week. That's the current average according to the Conservative Partnership Institute, but I had to double check my numbers on that. How do you expect to pass anything substantive? You can have a bunch of little head pat bills that no one's really going to look at hard, really minor stuff, but for the big stuff, you can't do that 3 days a week in the chamber. You've actually got to put in the extra hours and let people debate, and they're not doing that.
Oh, wow.
They want to show up on Tuesday or Monday night, go to work for 3 days, get out either Thursday afternoon or Friday morning and be done with it.
Wow, I definitely wanted to talk to you about it because I know, like I said, you talk about it on CRTV, and so I'm a subscriber, and I think it's great, but I want you to tell everyone how great CRTV is and how could they get it if they want.
Well, so first, thank you for helping pay my rent. I got a baby on the way, and that helps things out. But first off, CRTV is a great place to work for. I just got to say that I've been here for 2 years, and it's a phenomenal team, and we just keep adding these really phenomenal voices to the roster. Of course, we've got Levin TV, we've got Crowder, we've got Andrew Wilkow now. We've added Ali Stuckey, the conservative millennial. We've got the roaming millennial, and then it just keeps adding on, But if you want to figure out how to get on and sign up, just go to crtv.com. You'll see the links to sign up. You can get it on there. But what I really want you to do is go on there and use the code CHB to get $10 off your subscription.
Okay. All right. And how to get in touch with you on social media?
So I'm at Nate Madden CRTV on Twitter, and just look for the Capitol Hill Briefs Facebook page. And you can see all of our episodes there. They're completely free in front of the paywall.
All right. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thanks to Nate for joining us. And like I said, he definitely could speak more about CRTV than I can. Mainly, you can also use it on your phone, your tablet, across a lot of media devices, and you're going to hear from others from CRTV. So, for someone that is a subscriber and was a subscriber from day one, I really am enjoying it right now. Now, I was glad I was able to talk to a number of people, as well as Mark Levin. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get an interview, But I did get a picture that everyone saw on Facebook, so that was cool. But I was glad to actually see him face to face and tell him that how much I'm enjoying CRTV. But like I said, thanks to Nate for joining us. And our next guest is with the MLK Association of Texas. If you don't know, Martin Luther King. And we talked with Kellie Richard. And we talked with her about MLK Association. And here's our interview with her. So we are here with Kellie Richard with the MLK Association of Texas. How you doing?
I'm fine. Great to be here.
So, first question, is this your first CPAC?
Yes, this is my first time in attendance. It's quite an experience.
How do you like it so far? I know it's only been like a couple of hours.
It is fabulous. We had a productive meeting with Senator Ted Cruz when we first got here. Got to meet him, talk about some of the issues and concerns facing Texans. We got to meet Mark Burns, who's running for Congress. Awesome black conservative. It was great to see him.
I guess in the time that you, like I said, a couple of hours you've been here, what are you kind of looking to accomplish? I mean, as far as meeting people and everything?
Just focused on networking, talking to people, seeing what we can do to help engage more of the youth, engage more of the minorities. So I definitely think we can accomplish that here, definitely with the networking and seeing some new faces, getting ideas.
So tell us a little bit about MLK Association of Texas.
So MLK, our mission is to obliterate the glass ceiling and inequality of people of color. And we plan on doing that by social, civic, and political engagement. So just focused on policy, getting legislation passed, focused on minority outreach, anything to empower our communities. We'll currently be discussing a nationwide mentor program for black youth. So anything that's uplifting and engaging our communities.
Okay, and for the whole state of Texas, where are you, headquartered?
So we are a Houston chapter, yes. And so from there we do branch out in Texas.
Okay, and you mentioned, I guess, kind of like a leadership initiative. I mean, you have any other programs that y'all working on?
Yes, so we do community outreach, so anything from going to churches, getting them involved in what we're doing, from our starting our own mentorship program for young kids, getting them involved and reaching out to the schools and connecting with them to get involved and be a helping hand.
Okay, so one, I guess, economic question I'm thinking about as far as tax cuts with President Trump. How are you, I guess, seeing that play out so far as in the black community?
Honestly, he has done what I've been preaching for years. To be honest, I do feel in order for us to thrive, in order for entrepreneurship to thrive, there has to be a decrease of regulations. Businesses cannot be smothered through taxation. Everyone, when they think tax cuts, everyone thinks Walmart, Target, McDonald's. Not everybody is a big corporation as them. So these tax cuts, they're not only helping those at the top, but they're also helping mom and pop shops, small businesses to be able to expand. I actually manage a small business in Humble, an escape room, and they have helped us dramatically. So just our little small business, we're able to flourish, grow through conservative politics, deregulation, cutting taxes. So that's helpful to our communities.
Okay, well, you mentioned escape room now. I'm kind of interested. So, I heard about them. Tell me a little bit about that now.
They're really fun. So an escape room, you are theoretically locked in a room, and you have to work together as a team with a group to solve puzzles and clues to escape. Ours is in Humble, Escape at Houston. It's very immersive. So we have everything from Egyptian theme. You're going to feel like you're in the Egyptian tomb. We have a quarantine bio lab. You're going to feel the gore floor, the grid. You're going to feel like you're in the lab, very immersive, very cool. Fun puzzles.
Okay, and tell us details if people want to go to this.
Oh, yes. So book online at escapinghouston.com. It's very fun. Minimum of 2 people, so it can be anything from a date night to 10 people, group of family birthday party. You can host it there, work together, solve the clue, solve the puzzle, use thinking, hands-on physical tasks to try to escape the room.
All right, and if everybody wants to get in contact with MLK on social media and websites.
Yes, so our Facebook page is MLK Association of Houston. We also have one for the Texas page, and our Twitter, MLK Houston. Look us up.
All right, Kelly, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thanks for Kelly for joining us, and it was it just in general just kind of fun to come to CPAC a lot of times, because for the most part you get a chance to see people, old friends, pretty much once a year, because a lot of times we may be in different parts of the country and we kind of all just meet together at CPAC, and it's good to just hang out. And just like with the MLK Association, get a chance to meet with some of them and hang out. And with everything that is going on with the receptions, I mean, it could be a tiring deal when it comes to CPAC, because there's just like so much going on, and you also chilling with friends that you normally only see once a year, and as opposed to sometimes you still keep in contact throughout the year, but just to be able to everybody be in one place, so that's cool. So like I said, I appreciate Kelly for joining us, and before we get to our next interview, let's hear from our friends with the Founding Project.
Hello, TrendChat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with the Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
Hello, this is TrendChat, and we are here with the reporter with the Daily Signal, Kelsey Harkness. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Did I butcher your name?
Kelsey Harkness. I think you were pretty close. I'm not one to get easily offended.
Well, I just had to ask, because I'm kind of bad with names, so I just don't like to disrespect somebody's name. But like I mentioned, you are a reporter with Daily Signal, and also with a website called Bright, and also you do something called Problematic Women, which is something that I watch pretty much any time that it's on. So tell us about Problematic Women and about Daily Signal and Bright.
I'll start with Problematic Women because there's a funny backstory behind that. In my work with the Daily Signal and the Federalist, I cover the feminist movement and the conservative response to the feminist movement. And about a year ago, I came across an article on Elle magazine that had the headline, "How do we criticize problematic women?" with a picture of Kellyanne Conway, Ivanka Trump, and Megyn Kelly. And I just thought that headline perfectly summarizes the way the left views conservative women. We are not worthy of debates and discussion with them. We are problems they look at as things that need to be fixed. And I think that is the first problem in our society today, and why so often we're talking at each other rather than with each other. We certainly, both sides, both conservative women and liberal women, can and should admit we have differences of opinions when it comes to policy issues. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to discuss those policies. That doesn't mean that's just a problem that I need to fix and I'm not going to deal with unless I can do that. And so we did a Facebook Live show at the Daily Signal highlighting this article. I wrote about it for the Federalist, and it kind of took off, and we realized there's a theme here and there's something bigger. And the bigger theme is that conservative women are problematic because the left, in order to be a part of the feminist movement, you have to subscribe to a very far left ideology that includes, embracing abortions without limits. Pretty radical if you look at the Women's March's agenda. And that's where we are today. So we we decided to continue this, make it a weekly show. And in the show, my co-host Bree Payton and I pretty much highlight all the hypocritical ideas and news stories that are coming out from quote-unquote feminists, which in a lot of ways are either ignoring conservative women, offending conservative women, or pretending that we don't exist.
I know one thing that's definitely been, a hot topic in the past couple of months is the Me Too movement. So I guess I want to ask you, how do you respond to that, on top of the fact that sometimes that's kind of used as a weapon against conservatives?
That's a very good question. So I support the Me Too movement. I think it's clearly an important conversation we need to be having. If you look at polling of how many women have dealt with some kind of sexual harassment and abuse, it's a lot of us. It's over 50%. And so I do think this is a conversation that we need to have, but I say proceed with caution. And that's because we already have seen the Me Too movement conflate sexual harassment with assault. They often conflate injustices women face with actual inequalities women face. Let me give you an example there. An injustice might be getting catcalled on the street as an American woman. An inequality are the women in Africa and some Middle Eastern countries who are facing FGM. Those are real inequalities that I believe as feminists we should be fighting for. And that's where I think we need to not just talk about me in the Me Too movement, but talk about us as women, as internationally, think of our whole gender, which women really need help and support, and how can we lift up them too, not just ourselves.
Speaking about, I guess, in women and Me Too, you also have this website called Bright, which is, I guess you could say is focused toward women, I'm guessing.
We like to kind of call ourselves, for people who don't know what Bright is, a conservative version of The Skim. Every morning you're going to get an email from a different female editor, and it will give you a rundown of what's happening that day, news, pop culture, and politics. We try to have fun with it. We try to bring you some bright, lighthearted news stories mixed in with the serious stuff. We deliver content in a way that we think women like, because as conservative women, we actually acknowledge that there are differences between men and women, and maybe we like to get our news in a certain way while men like to absorb their news in another way, and that's okay. But I think products like this are really important to engaging young conservative women, not just conservative women, any women and young girls who maybe haven't fully formulated their opinions, just to at least present another perspective of how you can really stand for women, stand for female empowerment, but not buy into the very far left ideology that we so often hear from the quote unquote feminists.
So how can people find out more about Bright and also about problematic women and Daily Signal?
All right, you can sign up for Bright on getbrightemail.com. It's a product of the Federalist. I highly encourage you to sign up. It's a fun product. You can read my work at the Daily Signal, also on the Federalist, and you can tune into Problematic Women on the Daily Signal's Facebook page, or you can also subscribe as a podcast.
Oh, and also your social media if people want to get in touch with you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Kelsey J. Harkness, or on Facebook, Kelsey Harkness.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, TrendChat listeners. If you like the Founding Project's Civics Education video series, Civics for All Ages, and our educational meme series, we think you will love our new website. Join us at thefoundingproject.com and be a part of the civics movement. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
Yep, and thanks to Kelsey for joining us. And like I said, we got to really keep it moving. And so our next interview is with the chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp. And I didn't know I was going to get an interview with him like last minute, but I was asking, and while I was there, they said, all right, you get a couple of minutes. I was like, oh, cool. So I was like, all right, come on. I had a couple of questions already, just in the chance that I might get a chance to talk with him. So without further ado, here's our interview with Matt.
Hello, this is TrendChat, and we are pleased to have the chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp, with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you.
So CPAC is coming down to a close, and just want to ask, what has been the best, I guess, the best moment outside of the president's speech? Because I know that was the top thing.
I'd say the best moment's still to come, and that's when Devin Nunes, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, comes out on this stage, and I think it's very topical for him to address this whole question about the abuse of our intelligence services in the pursuit of Donald Trump's presidential or campaign team during the election. I mean, the abuses that are alleged to have occurred during the election and after the election are hair-raising, and he's going to talk to this audience about it.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned when you were introducing the president that this was the largest crowd. As far as the speech or overall?
The largest crowd for any speaker. We took this wall here to my right, and we moved it all back. So this was all standing room only, and I don't know what it is, 20 yards or so. So it's a big group of extra people. We're going to release the final numbers around the end of the conference, but we've never opened up that wall before. So, and it was full. You were here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering because I'm like, wow, I was thinking about 2016 because this is my third CPAC. My first one in 2016, then I came in 2017. So, yeah, it's just to see everyone here and now to be part of media, it's just been great as far as to be a part of this and being able to, to talk to the speakers, talk to you. So, now one thing I did want to mention is that I noticed in some media outlets where I want to ask you, what do you say to people that have the opinion that the ACU maybe is like stifling conservatives by maybe take away credentials or like canceling panels or something like that? And so, what do you say to those people that have that criticism?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're always going to have people who criticize you year after year, but we're not stifling anyone. We had over 150 speakers this year, representing even diverse viewpoints within the conservative movement. You can't have everyone speak every year because you got to make decisions and choices. But the one thing we didn't do is we invited the right people, and those people spoke. We stand behind those decisions, and we think our attendees have appreciated having those folks here and having those folks talk to us.
And now, I know that the ACU does ratings for Congress, and one question I want to ask: how do the ACU put those scores together? What is the criteria?
Well, we challenge each other. We have a big group that works on them, and we challenge each other about whether it's fair to pick this vote or fair to pick that vote. We talk to the people in the states. We now rate every member of Congress, every senator, and every state legislator. We're the only one who does it all, especially on all the issues, not just one issue, all the issues. So I have to admit, it's not a perfect process. It can't be perfectly objective, but we stand behind them. We think we make the right decisions, and you can really tell who the real conservatives are and who the pretenders are.
Okay, and so I guess the ACU do more than just CPAC here in the DC area. There's other events as well. Can you give us details on where other places that y'all go to?
Well, we talked about today how we went to Tokyo and had our first international CPAC. We went to Jerusalem, and we went to 20 other places in America. We went to Anaheim, we went to Mesa, Arizona, we went to Wichita, Kansas. We were all over the country bringing CPAC to people's communities.
Okay. So, well, that's all I have. I appreciate it so much for your time.
We appreciate you being here. It means a lot to us. Come back.
Yep, and thanks to Max Schlapp for joining us. And yeah, I look forward to coming back. I definitely, like I mentioned in the beginning, just had to figure out if I'm going to make it or not. So. Also thanks to Matt Schlapp, but also thanks to Little John for coming in with that music in the background. I almost lost focus when I heard the song. I'm like, oh, I didn't know if I need to stop or what. But either way, I just kept going. But speaking of, I guess, music, we get my last interview was with Kaya Jones, and I don't know if anyone. I guess know as far as the group that she used to sing with called the Pussycat Dolls. And, I know, back in the day, I definitely used to watch those videos. But lately you said she came out as a conservative recently, and she has her own album coming out, which I had talked to her about as well. And she also did the national anthem, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes when I play this interview. So without further ado, here is our interview with Kaya. Hello, this is TrendChat, and we are pleased to have Kaya Jones with us. And she did a beautiful rendition of the national anthem yesterday at CPAC. A whole lot better than Fergie. That's my personal opinion. Huh?
Today too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See,
Twice.
Oh, okay. See, I got in a little late. I'm sorry because I was up for like 24 hours yesterday, and I kind of slept in, and I got here right before President Trump spoke. So forgive me for that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, all good. But I got to do it both days.
Oh, so are you doing it tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. But it was for the vice president, and then of course the president. You don't say no. You say yes, and you do your best job. So.
All right. So now, I guess one thing I wanted to mention. I've been hearing about your album.
Yes.
And tell us all about it.
I'm just writing songs, working with a lot of different people out of Nashville. And hopefully we have, I think, something coming out with Jason Crabb on his new record April or the end of March. So I'm just working on my stuff and writing with some big writers, big producers. Jada Marcus from Rascal Flatts is one of them. Billy Corrigan from Smashing Pumpkins is another. So just working with some different people.
Okay. And so as far as being conservative and when you actually, I guess, voiced those views and made it public, I mean, I think we all kind of, if anybody follow you on social media, saw the reception. I mean, how was it, especially at first, dealing with all that?
I think you get both. You get love and hate. You know what I mean? Whenever you come out on any side of the fence of what you are or what you believe in. But for me, it was worth it. I didn't want to be false anymore and not say who I am or what I'm about. It felt like I was being hated for not being me anyway. So at least now, if the hate is there, it's genuine. You know?
So, President Trump just spoke, and so I guess give us your thoughts on the speech.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought he conveyed exactly what he said, the whole campaign trail. He's not a racist, a xenophobe, a homophobe, an Islamophobe. It isn't about that. It's about trying to figure out ways to make America great. Focus on Americans, America. And somehow that's always seen as wrong, or it's seen as like hateful. It's like, well, but China's worrying about China, and Africans are worrying about Africans in Africa. Americans need to be worrying about Americans because there's genocide going on here every day and nobody's talking about it. You know, everyone wants to talk about, and I loved what Dana Lash had spoken about yesterday, you know, everyone wants to talk about the 17 kids that were gunned down. Yes, that's an issue. But, you know, just last week there were 17 kids in the hood that were gunned down, and no one's talking about that either. That somehow doesn't matter when we're talking about guns. It only matters when we're talking about white children in schools and that kind of stuff. Like that, there's issues in this country, especially in Chicago, where it's like a war zone. It's seriously like a war zone.
You know, one question I was actually going to bring up is that and you referencing to what happened in Parkland. Now, for you are a survivor of the Las Vegas shooting. So, kind of in contrast for you, in comparison to, you know, all the people that want to voice for gun control, but you were a survivor of that. So, I'm guessing you're not want to use that tragedy for gun control.
No, I want to use it. Look, if people are going to gun you down, you need to be prepared for it. I mean, that's the world we live in. We live in a world that a lot of evil exists, and someone can do hateful things and hurtful things, and what do you do? I mean, if you know that that's possible, and it's possible anytime, anywhere on this planet, don't you want to be ready for it? I mean, just because a gun-free school doesn't have guns doesn't mean someone can't walk into that school and shoot up the kids. Doesn't mean they can't walk into a mall and shoot that up, or walk into a movie theater and shoot that up. That doesn't stop it. It doesn't stop anything. And last I checked, criminals don't follow the law anyway. So even if we reformed all of the laws, are they going to follow them anyway? I mean, clearly they don't in Chicago. Look, again, like Chicago for me is just heartbreaking, because that's a city that deserves better. It's a great city. I have a lot of friends that are from there. I lived there when I was recording with R. Kelly, and I was signed to him. And it's upsetting to see that the death toll just keeps rising. And it's just kind of like, okay, well, whatever. Whatever. We should worry about this. It's like, well, why aren't we worrying about that too? Why aren't we focusing on Americans? And these are Americans that are killing each other for whatever reason, whether it's gun violence or not, or it's gang related or not. It doesn't matter. This should not be happening. Where's the governor? Where is the mayor? What are they doing?
Yeah, and that's something I just wanted to touch on. Now we'll kind of bring it back to President Trump's speech. It's been over a year now, so I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts as far as everything the administration has accomplished, and what are you looking forward to for this coming year?
I think he's already starting to accomplish a lot of it. I think he's only had a year in, so hopefully he's going to start on the wall. He's going to start on the things we really want. His core voters, why we voted for him. He heard a lot of lock her up too. We want answers for things that we don't feel we've received answers for. We want good people in power that aren't going to stuff their pockets and do things, good things for their state. And each state has so many representatives and so many people, and there are a lot of good Congress that have done great, but we need to now get really good people in, and the people that have been putting money in their pocket out, and focus on rebuilding the country. So more jobs for sure, more safety of our border, making sure that we're not getting drugs coming over, we're not getting bad stuff coming over. What he's doing with the opioid crisis is awesome. I think we need to figure stuff out with protecting kids in school, because as we can see, during Columbine, I think they had a AR-15 reform going on at that point. And it didn't do anything. It didn't stop anything. So that shows us that banning or getting rid of certain, weapons don't necessarily stop the problem. So we have to find ways to protect kids, protect our country better, and be more advised on how we can do that. I like the idea that he threw out about paying teachers more that want to carry conceal. That's awesome. That gives incentive to a lot of teachers that already, they have the skills or the knowledge, or they were former military, like he said, and maybe it's not a huge percentage, but a smaller percentage, or they want to get educated in it by getting a CCW, a carry conceal license, and you don't know which teacher has it. And it's true. If someone has a gun, I don't think that these cowards will run up in there going oh, let me gun someone down. If you know that someone could have a gun on that campus, that scares cowards away. And people that do this kind of stuff, they're cowards, because that's cowardly to do. I mean, it's so sad. It's so sad that this is going on constantly, and it's what happened at Route 91. We're still waiting for answers on that. We have no idea why he did that. We still don't know why. And I think that's what's hard is with this situation, it was clear that he was going through mental issues, and he didn't have support or the love in his life. His mother had passed. There was a lot of trauma and sadness for this child that lost his mind. For Stephen Paddock, we don't know why he chose to gun down people. He was in a relationship with a woman. It was doing good. He had a normal life, for what we can see. So I think those are the kind of things where it's is it radical behavior? Is it for the sake of it? Why did this happen? And find ways that we can protect our country better. So I think we're going to see more of that from Trump, and more of the promises that he kept. And he's doing as best as he can, especially with the tax break that he's giving a lot of people. So that's good.
I guess tell us everything as far as I guess when the album's coming out, or
don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Don't know yet.
Okay, well, how can anyone get in contact with you on website, social media?
KayaJones.com, KayaJones.com, and you'll find all my social media there, or at Kaya Jones.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yep, and thanks to Kaya for joining us. And well, that is part one. And I'm not going to really say, I guess I'm not going to have much time tomorrow to talk as much as I did in this episode, because we have a very stacked lineup for this, music coming in. All right, producer, all right, we really are at the end. But, we will have Dr. Kelly Ward, Ivan Rakin, John Miller from CRTV, Katrina Pearson from America First Action, Marv Allen from the Black Conservative Foundation, and Britt McHenry. So all that will be on tomorrow's program. So like I said, got to get that all in. So like I said, until tomorrow, we'll chat with you. Chat with you later. Get it right, Brian.